7 o'clock and we're going to get started. Karen, you okay on the stuff? Great. Welcome to the July edition of the Camera Club of Richmond. I'm Martin Evans, and we have a nice, wonderful evaluation team tonight. And I think we'll have some fun hearing about other people's images. Next slide. Last year at the Iwo Jima Memorial, you get all three of those things in one shot. Next. Rumley did a wonderful evaluation, and I think that's posted online. For those of you that weren't there, it's a nice video, a lot of technical aspects and critiques there. Next. And if you don't know who the members are, the leadership team, here they are in the blazing glory. Next. Guest. Yes. I saw Becky Reel, and Becky is one of our guests, and she confessed that she shoots medium format, and that's not so common here. But welcome. Any thing you want to know from the group? The group is probably twice the size, and they're equal number online. So welcome, and if you see stuff that you like, then we hope you'll join. Any other guests? Okay, next. Posted this. Again, thanks to Anthony, and here's your link to his YouTube. August 11th, gear swap. And if you want to bring items, let somebody know. And that there are people who've already made an inquiry about bringing their stuff here. I'm not trying to sell the African safari, but somebody couldn't make it next month, and I said that I would volunteer, and they put the big hook, and so I'm on the hook for the African safari. For those of you who heard that talk at the Digital Club, this one will be a little different, so it's valuable to hear both. September 8th, the multiple exposure with Kevin Morley, and the Southern Exposure for Ideas about multiple exposure. And then in October, Bill Draper photographing in and around Richmond. That's always a wonderful presentation, and you get some inspiration about getting up early and going for a run with your 600 millimeter lens. It's yeah. Next slide. Doug, any comment? I saw. Good. Next. Kemp is here tonight in the flesh. And how many images did we get tonight? 89. All right. Next. Michael, no comment. Thank you very much. Next. Pat Davis, the exhibits, the public library, August 7th. Cultural arts. This was not, I think it was in an email, but what is the date? And that's a big footprint, and so we can have a fair number of images, I hope. And Seasons of Change is the theme. VCU will be in November, December, and any other comments about this? For the September 10th is the opening reception for the cultural arts. VCU is November and December, and dates to be announced.
To be raffling the tickets off. Karen, can you speak to that a little better than I did?
We had asked the Pro Lab about contributions, and they didn't have an easy way to do that. So this was their way to contribute to the club.
Right. Yeah, we have 4 $50 print coupons. There's a short turnaround time, so if you want to save up your printing, we'll hand those out and put them up for raffle. We have some raffle tickets. So I think what did we decide, $5 a ticket for the raffle for a chance at $50 certificate, and we have 4 of them. So we'll do that next month. Yeah, and then I think the next slide maybe me. Let's do all 4 next month. Yeah, because there's a short turnaround that you have to be able to use them. Oh, and I'm sorry. Back to Mike on the communications.
So, and we have a new partner in Nations Photo Lab. They're actually another print house that does professional printing for photographers all over the place. They're based in Hunt Valley, Maryland. They're offering us discounts on their printing services. The first time you sign up and use their service, you get $30 off. And then on an ongoing basis with no expiration date, any additional prints you do after that are 25% off. I posted this on Facebook Sunday or yesterday, I forget which, but the information is out there. It'll be in next month's Southern Exposure as well, and we'll send out another email just as a reminder too. So, and the discount codes are there, and if anyone wants to grab a picture of the QR code, that'll take you right to the discount codes and the website.
Okay. We are very fortunate to have Fred Morton, who couldn't be here tonight, as one of our members, and Fred has offered to teach a Lightroom class. It's going to be an all-day, hands-on, bring your laptop and, get down and dirty and get the pictures modified, show you how to use Lightroom. There will be a $50 charge. So I wanted to get just a quick show of hands of anybody that thinks they might be interested in the class. We're going to only be able to take 10 people. Okay, so all right, we got maybe 5, 6. Okay, cool. All right, well, that's going to come out. We're going to do a little survey, and then we may ask you to pay up front. We're hoping to find a library. We're looking at the Staples Mill Library to be able to do that, kind of a central location for everyone. But Fred's awesome. He's done this before for PPA and VPPA, and now he's going to do it for us. And yeah, it'd be a great opportunity to really get your hands onto Lightroom. So there'll be some more information in the next month's Southern Exposure, but July is out. If you have a local photo from Richmond, we'd like to do a spotlight on Richmond. We've been spotlighting our members. We have our August spotlight is actually here on the front row tonight. Gary Kornfeld is going to be our spotlight for August, but we thought it would be a good idea. This was Mike Bryant's idea to spotlight Richmond. So share some of those Richmond pictures and we'll put together a little thing for our next magazine. So anything else that you have, publications at ccrva@gmail.com. All right, back to Mark.
Okay. Next, Hall is traveling Vermont or somewhere.
Took me too long to get the images up tonight, from tonight.
All right, next. And just a reminder, if you're contemplating camera gear, if you use this QR code, the group gets a 2% kickback, and that can add up to some real money. So consider that. Right. You can't just do it and then get ready to buy the product and then say, yeah, I want to give a little cumbersome, but worth it.
Start from the CameraClubofRichmond.com website, go to the links page, and then you'll see the Adorama and the B&H links right there, and then go shopping.
Joe and Marianne.
Just a minute. By the way, I'm not sure we ever got any money out of Adorama. I guess Doug would know that, but I know B&H, we've gotten some, reasonable hunks of money from them. It really helps.
We still have an active meetup page. I know the Richmond meetup group has closed theirs down, but ours is still active. And you don't have to be a member of the club to get on it and to participate in whatever I post.
Presentation, Mary Fisk-Taylor, entrepreneur, 25 years experience in portrait and wedding, co-owner, Jamie is here also, so we've got more talent than you can shake a stick at. And she's done this before for us. They're both excellent photographers and excellent critiquers, and so we're privileged to have actually both of them here tonight. Welcome, and the baton is yours.
I am very involved in the Virginia Professional Photographers Association, so I did want to bring up a couple cool things that are happening. First of all, if I can find it, on July 20th, which is Monday evening, and I hope it doesn't interfere with anything y'all have scheduled, but at 7 o'clock, every month we do something called Pixel This, where we bring in a speaker and we just have an online program. I'm very excited. We have Anj Olsen from Iowa that's going to come online and talk about self-portraits, and it's completely free. You can join in on the Zoom. They can be a lot of fun. Anj is a current member of the PPA Board of Directors, a phenomenal photographer, again, out of Iowa, and would love for y'all to join us. So just, you can go on vppa.org, is it vppa.org, and register and all that great stuff. And then in August, I'm in charge of all the events and education. We're gonna be up in the mountains. We're going to be at Mountain Lake Lodge, or Dirty Dancing Lodge, as my kids always called it when we were growing up. In Pembroke, it's going to be August 7th, 8th, and 9th. We have Jeff Duchowski, who is a past president of PPA. I served with Jeff. He's going to be doing a full day out doing landscape photography. He's traveled all over the world doing landscape photography. So it'll be a full day of landscape photography, and then a whole late afternoon, evening of how to process that out. So that's really hands-on, very fun. And then Sunday, Kira Derryberry, another past president of PPA that I serve with, is going to do a full day of AI. So if you're interested in learning more about that, she's an AI expert. Look that up on the website. You can always email me. I'm Mary, M-A-R-Y, at hayesandfisk.com if you want more information. And those are two really cool things we have coming up in Virginia, so for the BPPA Association. So check them out if you're interested.
A bold unicorn princess.
That's cute. I really like the use of the black and white here. Great subject matter. The way that they've handled just getting us right in on that subject. I think the title ties in beautifully. Things that I think could improve this image for me, I would have loved a little more sharpness, specifically in that gorgeous face. I have gorgeous sharpness on the tiara, but I wish I had a little more in the face, and I would have loved a little bit of light or better lighting on it. Now, this is a reportage image. There's not a lot of control, but there are things that could have been done in post to at least bring those eyes up a little bit, because right now they have kind of that black hole effect, and I'd love to see a little more life in those beautiful eyes. So that would be my thoughts on this little cutie.
Pat Davis. Admiring Ansel.
Okay, so I love the color in this overall image, the lighting, the warm lighting with the warm colors of the wood and the wall. Wish the subjects were in a little bit more light. There's kind of, we're losing lots of detail as both of their bodies kind of blend in together. So wish there were a little bit more either post-processing or a little bit more illumination on the subjects to separate them a little bit. And possibly even see a little bit more of their face too, because we're losing, I don't know what the expressions would be or their interaction with the art on the wall. But I do love the color of it. I think the color works really well.
Kemp Davis. Next one is After the Rain.
Love the color, love the love the use of photography here, and we have all those little rain, those little drops. I'm struggling here. I'm not getting a lot of focus, so I don't know if that was the intention of the image, to give it more of an abstract or artistic piece, and I could actually buy into that. But as it stands, I'm just wondering what we have, if this was supposed to be sharp or not. And I don't know. You didn't give me anything from the title either. So I've got a lot of pixelation, so I'm not sure about the integrity of the file. I don't know if it's just too large on this screen or what I'm seeing, but I love the juxtaposition, love the color, and I actually like the composition a whole lot.
Cat Mintz. Afternoon Portrait.
Oh, this is gorgeous. Really, really enjoy this. I love the almost the yin and yang we have going on here. I like how we go from that cool to that warm as we're going down, and I'm not exactly sure what's happening, but that's okay. I don't need to. Whatever's happening down here is very cool, and then going up into the warmth of the gentleman's face. I think that's just a really interesting study of color, study of the tension of what's going on, the tension in his face, the tension in the hands. Enjoy the bullseye composition and the storytelling a whole lot. So yeah, I don't know what's happening, but I really enjoy this image a lot. And again, that going from that blue, the blue to the yellow, or the warm to the cool, I think is really well done. So really, really neat. I like how the arms are kind of creating really cool triangles and bringing me right back into the face too. Really cool story.
Patricia Munford. Amy the Contortionist.
Wonderful lighting in this. Great black and white. Love the dappled lighting on her and beautiful lighting. Catch lights in the eyes are wonderful. Love the dappled light. Probably would tone that down a little bit on her chest, making her face the brightest part. So your eye, your eye always goes to the lightest part of or contrast part in an image. So right now her armpit is the brightest part. Would love to see her face the brightest part and tone those down. But I love the dappled lighting with the feel of this and the subject matter and the texture. I think those combinations are a winner.
Joe Ream. Anticipation.
Excellent title. Really, really, really great. I love the title. I love this. I like a lot about this image. The colors are great. I really enjoy the angle, the way that this is presented. I assume this is how it was photographed, but even if it wasn't, presenting it this way just gives it so much more whimsy. So taking this ant or taking this little creature and giving us almost this little dance is really cool. Got a really strong highlight down the back. I feel like that could have maybe been taken care of a little bit. However, overall, I think what you've given us is a really clever image of a very ordinary little subject, but capturing it this way is made a fun, really cute story. So great image.
Carol Annis. Azure Grace.
Great capture, wonderful shutter speed used to capture every tip of the wings in focus. When you're doing these type of images, the higher the shutter speed, the better, especially when you get to the tips of the wings, because that's the areas that move the most, and you'll get more freeze and action in there. I think this would be a great image to tone down the background, select the entire bird, tone down the entire background so the bird is the brightest part, and make all of the rest of this go dark, tone down the highlight there a little bit too. Maybe bring up a little bit more detail in the eye, but the background is great because nothing's kind of intersecting with the bird, which is great. But I think toning that down, that would be a cool blue toned black and white too. It would keep the color kind of more authentic to the bird, and keep everything in that same color palette would be phenomenal. But as it is right now, there's more light on the background than it is on the actual subject, and lighting is everything. It's where you put your attention. Great.
Kurt Engelman. Balancing the Note.
Oh, that's really, well, that's a great image just for her to be able to do that, huh? That's amazing. In a dress, in heels. Yeah, the guy's even like, wow, that is really good. That's fantastic. Concert photography, live music photography, this is something you have so little control over. So I feel like this has been handled really, really well. The point of capture for me out of the gate, the story is right there. The impact is really, really high. But even just the way that the angle, and I understand you're probably in a pit photographing up. So, you've got a flattering angle. You've got a great expression on the secondary subject there, which is your banjo player. And even though there's so much going on in this, I'm right in on that musician. Good skin tones. The cropping works. Yeah, I think this is really, really well done, specifically since I imagine you had very little to any control over the whole entire scene. So very well done.
Jerry Posno. Battle Scarred.
Wow, amazing. Great light on the subject, wonderful eyes and catch lights, fantastic composition, putting the lion tag or whatever it is in the upper right third quadrant. Um, just beautiful expression, the dead on stare and gaze. Probably would tone down that little branch to the right a little bit just so that it will because it does compete a little bit with the animal. Maybe take a little bit of saturation down on the yellows on the bottom right and all the foliage too, because I kind of like the monochromatic of the foreground, background, and then only the animal being in that warm color. I think would be great. It keeps from pulling your eye down to that right side. Amazing image.
Ann Fulcher. Beached.
I'm sorry, what was the title?
Beached.
Beached. Got it. Well, I love the beach, but this is really great. What a great eye from the maker. I like the fact that we've given us half this beach house. We've got the beached, little rowboat there. I can see the ocean in the background. I can see one of the like seagull or whatever flying away. I like that this is a really cool capture that has become, I love the silver tone in it. I particularly like the way that's been handled. And I like the fact that yes, it's architecture. Yes, it's a building, but it also, and a scenic, but it also has a very graphic appeal, mostly because of the cedar shakes and the way that it's been cropped, I think is really well done. Do I wish I had a little more detail here? Yeah, I do. I wish there was just a little more, and I don't need it to be full detail because it's on the shadow side and we're not going to have detail the whole way, but I do wish there was a little bit more there. And I think that that would have made this image even more impactful. But as it sits, very well done. Great image.
Jay Denny. Beginning to bloom.
Beautiful. Love the texture. The key line's nice. It kind of frames that color in there. Probably would tone down the intensity of that just a little bit. Probably would dodge and burn a little bit in these areas. Probably darken in here. Darken in here, in here, bring up detail here so that all of these, there's not such a contrast difference. Now, if you had control over the light in this, probably would have brought the light forward and to the right a little bit more so that it goes up underneath the petals a little bit more. Plus, it wouldn't have flattened out the detail of here as much too. Maybe even a different angle. If that were photographed from this angle, coming around to the to the right side a little bit more, you may have been a little bit more symmetrical in the purple flower, and also would have filled in the holes in this area by coming in at that angle. But great detail and light throughout.
Tony Johnson. Black Sand Beach.
Ooh, nice. Beautiful. I really, really love the angle on this. I think this is just really great. Jamie's obviously much more of a technical juror than I am, but I'm going to speak from the heart. I love this image. I love the moodiness of it, the way that the black and white conversion's been handled. Again, coming in on this black sand, that's the title, and leading in and all the way out with the black sand, which is the primary subject. So well handled. We have that secondary, or I've almost like third subject all the way there in the background. The crashing waves have been handled beautifully. Yeah, I really enjoy this image. I don't know what's going on in the sky, if that's atmospheric or if it's been touched in post, but I think it works with this image. This is very moody. I can hear the ocean, so I really, really enjoy that. I've got really great detail in all of the rock formations and even into a lot of the sand and the water, and that's just not easy to do. So overall, the impact is high for me, and I think it's because of the composition. I think that was really well. I like that leading line, bringing me all the way around into that abyss out there. So beautiful.
Mike Ornhoff. Blue Jeans.
What a great street scene. I love the point of capture with the position of the subject. It tells the story of what he's doing really well, and the environment too. I love the whole blue theme in it as that color repeats multiple times. Probably would lighten the subject entirely a little bit more so that they're brighter. Right now, the light is actually on the jeans and not on the subject. So in these type of images, if there is no light, your only option is to add light manually, reflector, strobe, something, or fix it in post. So in post, I would tone down the jeans in the bucket, and I would bring up the detail of the man so that he's the main focus. But great point of capture where his hands or feet are positioned, you still get a great profile of his face.
Gene Boyd. Botanical silhouette.
Pretty. Wow. I really, really like this. I love the angle. It's so different. It's unique. It's not something you see photographing up into this and that transparent or the transparency in the leaves, bringing me right in. The key line for me is a little bold. It's a little too wide. I would take that down a little bit because I don't think it windows it in. I think it helps. I think we could take a little bit off of that, just a couple pixels off of that. Love all of this. I understand that this is going to be the brightest part, and I'm glad it is because it brings me right into it. But I do wish that was brought down a little bit. It's just almost too bright for the overall mood that we have here. We have such rich cranberries and claret and greens and everything, and that little bit of sky peeking through, giving me that tropical feel. I wish this almost looks blown out. It's so bright. So if that were brought down a lot, I think this image would even be in a higher level for me personally as a juror. But really well done. Really minor points because overall it's a great image.
Susan Van Manen. Brothers.
Oh, great. Wonderful choice to have them lift their heads to the sky, because otherwise you wouldn't got catch lights in their eyes, which makes the whole deal. If you're going to photograph humans looking at the camera, it's good to have, 9 times out of 10, it's good to have some life and reflection of catch lights in the eyes. Great lighting on them. Little green color cast, which is going to be normal. So a little adjustment in the white balance, more into the magenta and reds would have neutralized that skin just a little bit more. Starting to lose a little bit of contrast in the dark areas, both in the beard and the dreads and the guy on the right. And cropping probably would have included a little bit more, backed up a little bit. Today's sensors are so powerful. Crop in manually. Unless you're in a competition that's a raw image, but back out a little bit just so that you can see a little, so none of their arms intersect the bottom of the frame. Would be a great image to do toned or black and white too, just because of the unfortunate guy on the right wearing the logo shirt. Boy, if he were in a solid blue shirt, that'd be a whole different image. Maybe look at doing this in black and white or a toned image, because that's going to end in with some dodging and burning on the face and bringing that up again, the brightest part. You're a story about the humans and not about the shirts.
Dave Johnson. Carnival paint splash.
Cool. Great. I love that. I love the title. I love what you presented. This is such a cool art piece. This is definitely something that would stop me in my tracks if I were in a gallery or anywhere that this was. Okay. Again, I think this key line's a little too wide, and maybe that's just a Mary thing, but I just don't think it helps. I don't need quite that much because then it starts to glow into the black. And I think a thinner, crisper line on this would allow me to not, because my eye keeps popping around into this purple line. But I don't know what you've done here, and I don't need to know. The way that the image has been handled, the reflection's been handled. I've got integrity and all, and this is a bright image, but I don't feel any oversaturation. I've even got a little bit of detail going on in there where I would expect to see some. And again, I don't know what else to say about this image because I'm not sure. I mean, I'm assuming it's some sort of a paint drop or something like that, but I don't know what's happened, but maybe Jamie does. But I'm all over this image. This is stunning. I'd like to know more about it. Is the maker here? Can they say?
Cindy
Hi,
Walker.
everybody. Yeah, this is Cindy Walker. This is a form of
Cindy. Yeah. Well, she's not here. Oh, okay.
Yeah, how did she color that, or is that the color of the paint that she dropped?
Well, I mean, how would you drop paint like that?
I have no idea.
Karen, can you translate for me?
Cindy, we need answers.
Okay. I'm unmuted. So Karen, can you translate?
Email me. This is really cool. I like, for, as, I mean, and I've been judging PPA all day long. I started at 8 this morning, but I think that and I'm not comparing, this is not a comparison, but the impact for me is so over the top. I've just not seen this before, and I'm so intrigued by how it was handled. If this is how it was dropped, that scientifically doesn't make sense to me, or mathematically doesn't make sense to me. And then if it was done in post, it's done so well to the point where we have it bright. And even as we go into the reflection, I've got shadow in the lime green and in the purple. It's handled so well. So I understand that it's black puck. I don't understand how you drop one thing of paint that many colors. Do you?
Can anyone hear me?
The vessel and paint all of those colors on the outside like a balloon or something.
Yes, Cindy, I think only we can hear you online.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I thought Karen was on.
All right. Well, we're just going to guess at this point.
So-
You'll have to let us know.
I'm not sure, and it could be my issue having a button turned off that I, can't figure out, but we cannot hear Cindy for whatever reason, but she did put in the text that it is high-speed photography dropping paint on black plexiglass.
Okay.
So Cindy, you're going to have to give us a
Paint you using,
more
Cindy?
detailed
Cool.
description or something. Everyone's chatting about this.
I want to know where this paint is. I assumed it was black plexi, but wow. Because even the way the striations come out, like how does paint drop? I don't know. I don't know. All right, we're gonna hear more later, maybe. Excellent, really, really cool. The cool factor on this is over the top.
All right. The next one is church door texture.
Amazing black and white, be perfect contrast. See that even in this harsh light, there's detail throughout the shadow areas where you can see the paint. You can see the paint chips. Wonderful composition, of course, crazy storyline in this. I love that it was photographed from a low camera angle too, zoomed in. Keeps the perspective of all of the horizontals and the verticals all in check. Also gives substance and height to the actual subject too, and importance. But really well done exposure and well done post-processing in a very difficult contrasty light situation. But extremely well done. You wouldn't have had all the texture. Main thing is there's detail in highlights and detail in shadows where it needs to be. Excellent exposure and post-processing or control.
Michael Orr. Clash of the Titans.
Excellent title, really well done. I assume, well, it doesn't matter. Well, this looks like this could have been done on a safari or whether it's done in a controlled area. Well, most safaris are controlled too. Love the title. I think the title brings me right into the story. So I think that's really well done. Do I wish that I was seeing more of the clash here and less of this guy's bum? Absolutely. But I also know that I've been on these safaris. I know there's not a lot of control, and we're not going to actually get in there and pose these rhinos. That would be ridiculous. You don't have a lot of control over time of day when you're out doing these things too. So I'm really happy with the amount of detail we have in their skin and in the grass, and everything looks like it's been handled beautifully. Looks like you have that atmospheric mist going on back there, but it gives you such a really beautiful neutral background to come right in on these, animals. So, overall is something that, again, having very little control over, I think the camera's been handled well. I think that it's a great scene, great title. Do I wish that if it was a little bit different of an angle? Yes, but I also concede the fact that you don't have much control over that either.
Martin Evans. Color canopy.
Wow. Perfect saturation on this image. Love is that better? Sorry, I didn't mean to spit. Beautiful capture. As a matter of fact, I think I even know exactly where this is. Oh, is it? Okay. I was going to say Portugal. Oh, it's where we saw it. Well, I saw it first. Love the detail that's been brought forward. Probably would bring out a little bit of detail in the shadows. The masking in the center of the sky is a little problematic for me. Whenever you're going to mask and darken a sky, you have to make sure you feather it correctly. So you don't see all those little white lines that are around each one of those umbrellas. And especially the white lines that are around the rooftops, they're not congruent. You can see little gaps in those. And it's relevant by the reflection in the purple walk. And if you look all the way back in the sky, you can see how that tonality is in the sky. So it'd be great if that were continued throughout. The sky in the middle has just been taken down too much. It even overlaps into the umbrellas too and takes away a little bit of their sharpness and color. But love the guy that's in there. Composition, I think, and this is pretty good. Now you have so many controls in Lightroom, especially where you can literally click one button and everything can be perfectly level without having to do anything to it. So if it were me, I would have taken that in the Lightroom and made all of those umbrellas perfectly symmetrical so that they're not ajar in the composition.
Venkat Santosh, Crossing the Bridge.
Wow. Crossing the bridge. This is really beautiful. I don't know if I like the reflection or the landmass better. It's so well done. I'm not sure what, I'm assuming something was, excuse me? Okay. I'm assuming something was done in post, and I think it was done really well. I think it's been handled really well. I really like the way it is in the reflection. I'm going to be very clear. I find it a little bit more bothersome here in the sky area and a little bit lacking here. So unfortunately, where I love this image as a whole, I'm more engaged here because I think it's handled so well here. It kind of is too light here, and then it feels too heavy or too messy, or I needed a little more control up here. So I understand whether this was done by hand or it was a filter or whatever it was, the artist chose to apply it. And I think that it was a really good idea because it made something that may have been a little bit more ordinary, I think a little bit more infatuating. But if you notice up in here, it gets really kind of messy. And then again here, just really, really slight. So that is not congruent for me. So I get a little bit confused by it, but I think it's a really great start on a really cool image.
Ted Jerkuda, Delicate Arch.
Great viewpoint through the arch. Of course, this is one of the most photographed land masses I think that we see. Probably would back off on the saturation of the orange a little bit in the foreground, and then possibly if there was, it looks like there's a little bit of masking done. Again, you can see the white lines around the interior sky. Where the rock structure it touches in there, even to the point where the caps of the mountains change a little bit. They get a little darker over here and a little bit more true to life in the center. Also around the exterior, it looks like the sky has been brought down a little bit so that, you get this little white highlight. And then also repeated it through there in those areas. Little bit of chromatic aberration around the whole entire structure on the edges a little bit, and probably would have dodged and burned the mist a little bit more on the mountains in the background. But I like the foreground to the background design and the composition.
Chachier, Double Trouble.
Looks like Double Trouble to me. Really cute. I'm not sure, what this was done for, whether it was a dance or it was done for, maybe they, what do you call it? Ballet dance school or whatever, or just two kids that wanted to have fun. I like that. I think I love the attitude in their poses. And I'm not sure what we were trying to go for, but for me, because I don't understand what we've added, the background, I don't understand what we've done in post. We've got the ghosting and the haloing in the blacks and in the whites. So I'm a little bit confused by that. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more direction of light in those faces so that their eyes were more alive and I could, see that a little better. But I'm not sure if you wanted it to be that way, but just the whole cutout feeling that we have going on down here, just some things in post that for me, keep it out of that technical excellence category or keep it technically out of something that if I were scoring it on a different range, it kind of falls apart for me. Also, believe it or not, this feels way sharper than this. And this, is not supposed to be, I don't think, but I don't have really good sharpness in the subjects either. So those are just some things that Again, maybe there was an intention there I'm not understanding. But as it sits and for me to critique it here, that would be what I would offer.
Philip Snyder, Dubrovnik Solar Dryer.
Great image. Great image.
Gotcha. So in this image, I probably would maybe desaturate or take a little bit of the yellow. I love the expression in the pose. The title is perfect for this too. Probably would just bring out a little bit more detail in the shadows. The highlights on the chest of the duck are really bright, so I would tone those down and probably just desaturate a little bit of the yellow in the overall background. Play around with black and white too.
This was 18 feet, 10 inches.
They didn't hear this one? No, okay. Do this. Okay. I really enjoy this image a lot. This image, I really appreciate it because I like the fact that they chose to put the focus right there on the shoes. The strength and the tension in the jumper, the runner, whatever it is really well handled. Where I struggled with this image is the shift in the colors. We have such a shift between the legs and the arms and the hands, and I understand why. It's because of this athlete and what she's doing. So for me, whereas I think what you were trying to do is get those orange soles, I would convert this to black and white, and I think this would be so much stronger because the shift in color as a technical issue, and I understand that it's not necessarily, but I think it would be so much stronger as a monochromatic image.
Sky.
Yes.
Probably if I love the composition. I love that they've turned this as a horizontal image because it totally changes the whole feel. The human brain sees it in a different way. Getting a little bit of haloing on the inside of the arch where I'm not sure if that were taken down or if there were masking done because they're starting to get that white edge again. And if it were me, is this in a category you can remove things? You can edit. I'd take out the white lightning bolt on the side if it were me. And I would tone down that corner and make the sky uniform all the way around. But amazing image. I love the composition of pulling the corner into the corner of the frame, and in and out. Phenomenal.
Michael Bryant, Eye to Eye.
Okay. I'm as bad as Jamie about these animals. I don't know what they are. We have a nice image of this animal. I have really great sharpness. I've got, a nice little expression going on here. Obviously, this is not an orchestrated portrait of this. What is it, guys? A leopard? A what? Cheetah? There we go. That's my next guess. Cheetah, I mean, the background's been handled really well. So I go right into the cheetah. So I think that's done. Because of the fact that it's just a little bit off to the camera left, we have a little bit of foreground here, and we have this really basic background. I wish I had a little more tension or a little bit more excitement. I don't know if we could have had a little bit looser crop or something, but because we're so tight on this guy or girl, the impact for me is just like, that's nice. And, but when we play around with composition, because we don't have a lot of control about so many things in this type of situation, if we could have played around with a little bit of composition, if we had a different camera angle or had more foreground or something, it would have created more energy in the image. But overall, great image. Just thoughts and ideas. If there's any more space, that it could even be more exciting if you had that.
Harold Lana, Falls of the Merced River.
Great composition. I love the play of thirds from the rock cliff to the two waterfalls, losing a little bit of detail in those whites a little bit, and probably would open up those shadows in those really, really dark areas a little. I think this also is would be a great subject to play around with in black and white. I mean, Photoshop, you can go to photo adjust or image adjust black and white, and you can play with filters like you would in the black and white darkroom days, in film days, where you can change contrasts based on the yellow in the rocks, the green in the trees, and that sort of stuff. Because I think there's so much texture based on the contrasty light from the sun that's unfiltered through clouds. And because of the direction of it, you get a lot of texture in this image. And I think playing around with this in black and white would be great. I would also kind of darken that one rock face in the very center at the very top, because it's a lighter point than everything else around it.
Terry Troxel. Family communication.
That's great. That's great. Love this. I mean, what a great capture. Here again, very little control. What a great capture. You know, we have the mom here, and we have the little two, you know, squawking down here in the bottom. Got a great triangular composition going here, staying right in there. The background and the foreground, midground, background have been handled beautifully, in my opinion. This is an area where you're not going to have a lot of detail. It's probably very wet. It's all those things. So I don't need tons of detail. I love the way this has been handled. Great sharpness on them, as well as this plane of focus here is working really well for this. The storytelling, that little circle here, again, I love this little circle of energy we have right here, but all of this adds to it. It's not just cropped in on them. I've got this space for these creatures to live and be. So I find this to be like more, the impact for me is going to be a lot higher because of what you've given me. You know, I don't know what to tell you to change, because do we go a little bit gray here? Yes, we do, but that might be naturally the way it is. Again, I've got great detail in all of those areas that I need it. So there's not much I would offer to change on that. Again, excellent. Great time to push that shutter.
Kurt Stiefvater. Farming village in Iceland.
Oh, wow. Great image. Love the composition in this. If it were my image, I would crop it as a skinny long. I would probably crop about right here and crop about right here, making it a long skinny. Probably back off on the saturation just a smidge. The reds and the greens look a little oversaturated. Pump up the white points a little bit to let the buildings pop a little teeny bit more. Also a great image. You could play around in black and white too, but I kind of like the red roofs against the greens. But I think a long skinny crop on this, eliminating the foreground, eliminating the sky, would add tons more impact to this image.
Mike Ornoff. Final point.
Wow, great. So, okay. I'm not sure what's going on here. So I'm assuming this was something, oh, I see. It's the stage. Okay, got it. Sorry. Final point. Again, the point of capture here is just so well done. And again, something we have very little to any control over whatsoever, except for when you push that shutter and how you've handled your exposure, which I think has been handled well. I go right into exactly where you want me to go. The detail's great. I think the exposure's, you know, good. I wish that I could pump up those whites a little bit more, but you know, those outfits or whatever they're called, they do go gray. So I would expect that. I like the way that it's been cropped as well. I wish we weren't coming in at such an angle here. I wish you could have been more straight on, but again, I don't know the layout of this arena or how you were photographing it. So I have to just assume that's the best you could do. I've got the nice shadows, you know, anchoring them down. And again, really well done with these athletes. Great job.
Linda Schmiel.
You can also fix that in Lightroom. You can do the transform.
Framed by Paradise.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. Love how the shadows have been opened up and the contrast in this image. Fantastic. Great composition, great detail in the sky, in the foreground. Nothing really to add. Nice print, nice postcard image. It's great.
Susan Van Manen. Framed.
Interesting. I really appreciate the void of the whole this. I love this whole void of anything over here, and then bringing me through here framed, and then this is what we have. So I don't know what kind of story you're trying to tell, but for me, it evokes a story because we have what feels like loss or fire or whatever, but you know, everything just looks abandoned and deserted. And then we have this frame structure and then all this dark, you know, abyss over here. I like the monochromatic feel. For me personally, I wish it was a little more monochromatic, meaning the blue in the sky, it doesn't go with this image. I feel like the color harmony would have been a little bit better if we just maybe desaturated that just a little bit, or maybe even played with more of a monochrome or a sepia or tone and type in this image. I think it would have even been stronger because it's such a neutral tone all the way until we get to the sky. If the sky were brighter and you were telling me it's going to get better, brighter days ahead, but it doesn't feel that way. It just also feels a little bit jealous. So again, I love the use of the negative space. I think that was just done really, really well. cool and really cool composition.
Shannon Mitchell. Free at last, free at last.
Mm. Great great point of capture of when the shutter button was pressed. Could have used a little bit higher shutter speed. As you can see, the tips into the wings, because that's always going to be a telltale sign that you've got motion in there. Of course, you can't really control, I guess, in this situation, you can't control which way the subject faced. If so, I would have faced them in the exact opposite direction because the sunlight would have been on her face in the release, since she's a secondary subject. A type of image that could probably use black and white or monochrome. The reds are kind of really saturated, and between that, they kind of pull your attention away from the story. Where in more of a black and white nature, I think you would be able to see the subjects without the influence of color. Also losing a little bit of detail in the shadows underneath the, I'm assuming an eagle, I don't know.
John Schickler. Furling the sails.
Really cool. You have this whole boat and all this stuff to capture, and you chose this one little space of this, huge, I don't know if it's a tall ship or whatever it is, but really, really neat. I love seeing all the workers working, pulling the sails and doing their job. So it's a really, it's a really neat way that you've captured this job and what they're doing on this ship. Do I wish I had a little more room coming out? Yes. Do I feel like it crops in a little bit too much here? I kind of do. I also wish that I had a little more, if I wish that it was a little more light on them. If I feel like it's starting here, either you photographed a little too soon or a little too late. I would have loved a little more light because we kind of get a little muddy in the reds and the blues here, and I would have liked a little more pop. But the composition, the way you chose to capture this chore or what they're doing on this ship, I think is really, really cool, and I really appreciate the way it's handled. Oh, was this when the tall ships were is that what it was? Yes. Yeah. I just saw them in the Boston Harbor this past weekend. I was like, okay, really cool. I like how you chose to do that. And I understand the James River is not very big for this. So I like the way that you chose to capture just that part of it. That's kind of neat. I've not really ever seen that before. So the impact is high because it's unique. It's a really cute, really cool angle.
Kerry Gottlieb. Gas shadows.
Great composition, wonderful use of lighting. Because I love the sunlight creating the shadows and the triangle of that shadow coming in that bottom right-hand side. Great framing, everything straight where it needs to be. Probably a little bit warm on the white balance. Probably would have cooled that down a little bit because as you get later in the sun, you get that yellow cast, I think. This would love to have seen even a little teeny bit more, not maybe as cropped in version, because I almost kind of want to see now a little bit more of that building depending on what's there. Great detail where I need it in shadows and highlights. Also would be a great image in monochrome because you could play around again with selective textures. That I think would be absolutely amazing.
Vic Grand. Glamour grounded.
Really cute. I bet what a great little scene. I think that this has been adequately, propped, so to speak. I feel like we have a background here that we've added in to give us the holiday spirit. And then we have this beautiful subject in her Christmas dress. All that's handled well. When we have a background like this and, using a different depth of field or using a different focal length, I think can help these sometimes. But if you're going to have this background, having the wrinkles in the floor and then where either the floor meets or where the background starts to sweep, when it gets kind of jumbled up there, I personally struggle with that. I like it to be neat. I understand it's not real, but I want it to be a little bit handled with a little more care. So watch that when you're working with these type of scenarios, because this wrinkling and all that, it just creates energy that we don't need to look at. I think that the posing on her is handled pretty well. I don't know that this helps. I would have, when you have two of anything, kind of rocking that knee forward, having her bend a little more. I know it feels awkward, would have been maybe a little more flattering on this beautiful woman because she's very slim. She's obviously got a beautiful outfit on, and I would have liked to have seen more of it. And then we almost are blooming in the cheek and in the nose. So watch that. We don't want to lose that. We don't want that to bloom, or we don't want to blow out those highlights in that beautiful face. So, just some little things like that. I hope she loved it, and because it's really cute, but a little more cropping. We're almost cutting off her feet, but I have all this space over here. I would have liked it to either been even or just give me a little more space on that side so I'm not feeling like we're almost cropping off her feet.
Shashi Ayer. Gothic chick.
Oh, wow. Great costuming, great subject. So I think here the background has been taken down a little bit too much as it's starting to shift in color and in saturation and contrast. I'm assuming that wasn't done through a window. I don't know how that would have taken. Masking around the chain in her left hand. And I think some of the areas of masking, you can start to see the white from the mask around. That could have been handled a little bit better. Also, her left knee is the brightest part of the entire image, almost as bright as her face. Would like for her face to be the brightest part, and even to the point where her hands are discolored from the skin through the forearm in her hands. So would like to see a little bit more consistency in lighting throughout the skin, making, again, the face the brightest. Starting to lose a little bit of detail in some of the blacks, but the sky, the background in the back has been taken down way too much. It's to the point where it's starting to grade the contrast of the image. A longer lens, a more wide open lens would have thrown that out of focus, I think, a little bit more too, because she kind of doesn't match into the background. Now, converting that to black and white and playing around with textures, you might be able to pull those in together a little bit closer. Great propping, though.
Dave Johnson. Grand Prismatic Spring.
Well, I really appreciate the angle that you chose to give this to me. We've got all the mist coming off the spring. I love the layers of the mountains in the background going into the sky. I think all that's really well done. I don't know if this is, for me, like a time of day issue or what we have going on here, but I'm okay with there not being detail in all the shadow areas, but I'm really just got so many blocked up shadow areas, not just here in this really heavy foreground. Even in the mist, I know there's not going to be full detail, but there should be a little bit more, I feel like, than what I'm seeing. And then certainly in this range here, very muddy, feels very blocked up to me. And then we go back here and it gets a little better. And then I'm not sure if there's anything done to the sky or not, but it also has a very heavy. So I don't know if a little bit different cropping, if obviously this could be some exposure issues. And I'm not sure, and maybe Jamie will tell you, but what we could do in post to do that, because that's not my cup of tea. But overall, again, it's just those heavy, heavy, muddy shadows for me. Yeah. Okay.
Marta Namek. Granny's Gay Pride.
Oh, that's great. What a fantastic subject. She's incredible. The propping and all of the stuff is incredible. Totally would do this in black and white so you can really pull out all of and then play around with all those textures and things too. I would also bring more light to her face and not to her hand. Again, the hand is the brightest part, where her face is where all the energy is. So wherever you want the attention, dodge and burn if you're going to be a natural light photographer, and to control where the viewer eye goes, because right now it's going to her hands and really want it to be into that face. And you have catch lights in her eyes, so there's reflections of lights in her eyes. So I think simple dodging and burning would have turned this into a totally amazing image. If you have other images of her where her hand is not to her face, that would even be stronger, because she has such character and expression, and between the hat and the everything else that's going on would be absolutely amazing. She's phenomenal.
Bruce Yoder. He seems a little stiff to me.
This is a really great example of a title really taking an image to a whole nother space. Like that is so clever and so cool. I really like that. I also like the juxtaposition. I like the way that we have these three, statues, whatever they are, the way that you chose to capture them, photographing up, the way that they're staggered, all well done. Where I'm struggling a little bit is as we go around some of them, where it looks like there could have potentially been something done in post, where you have the heaviness around here. It's even blood in different spots to this. I'm not seeing it as much over there, but all around here, there's just some areas that feel like in post-production, maybe we needed to be a little bit more careful when we masked it or a little bit more careful when we handled the post-production. I'm not sure why you needed that, but I would have liked that a little better. Also, this one being so big and so large, do I wish that the focus was here and it fell off as I went back? Maybe, because that's definitely the sharpest one, which I could get over that part, but this is so forbearing and so there. And then because we have the artwork there, and then we have a little bit of a softness there, I would have liked to have seen the sharpness all the way across, or at least started with a sharp subject and kind of faded off.
John Schickler. Heading home.
Oh gosh, wow. Great capture. Totally perfect shutter speed, even to every little tip of the wings, water droplets, bird, all of it. Probably would crop here, get rid of all of that in the top so that the focus is here. Probably may need to balance by cropping off here. You'd have to crop here first to see. Losing a little bit of detail in the highlights on the back, but the direction of light is such that you get that wonderful light in the eye, which is great, and all across all of the wings. Probably would tone down the brightest part of the wings on over here and over there, because again, they're bright. My eye keeps going to those lighter areas. Bring back detail in the tail to be somewhat like the head. Doesn't have to be exact, but notice how the tail is much brighter and starting to lose detail, where you've got all of that wonderful texture in the head. Totally could be a great black and white image too, with all the texture.
Carrie Troxel. Honor and celebration.
Man, this is really, really cool. I really enjoy this image. Have no idea how we did this, and maybe I don't know. I love that we have Iwo Jima here, the fireworks. We have the Capitol in the background, the Washington Monument. We have so much going on here. The crowd has been handled really, really well. Overall, I mean, it's highly saturated, but it's going to be highly saturated. We're at night. You've got all the fireworks. I think they've been handled really well. I could see this very easily as a advertisement or in a magazine or something. I like the crunchiness actually of it, because I know this statue is really hard to photograph. And I just think it's been handled well. I wish that we had maybe a little bit more balance, meaning with the sharpness here. This is really, really forbearing and really, really soft. I don't need it to be tack sharp, by the way, because you've got really good sharpness as you go back, but it just feels a little bit of a miss for me. I would have liked a little more sharpness there. It almost feels like we just tried to bring it up a little bit and it got even too crunchy, if that makes sense. And that's not a really good technical word, but hopefully y'all can follow along and forgive me. But I enjoy this image a lot. I think it's incredibly patriotic and really, really well done. So much going on there. I think it just says, America very well.
Martin Evans. Horse and trainer.
Beautiful quality black and white. Now that's gorgeous. If there was a technique applied to it, it's been applied expertly. Just enough, not too much. Love the color tones. The contrast of the image is phenomenal. Beautiful quality of light and direction of light. You see every texture in the horse from dry to wet. Same thing in the man. Absolutely beautiful. I don't know if there's more around the whole entire image, but it may be cropped in just a tiny bit too much. If that's the only thing I could say, maybe back off a little bit on the dodging of the front nose of the horse, if that was done around in that area where it meets the water. But phenomenal, beautiful, beautiful tonal range in this image.
Harold Lana. In the flow.
Um, and I really enjoy, I like the panorama. I think that the cropping on this is great. We have the two little, you know, what they are, bird things in the front. I've got the beautiful sky in the background, the clouds. From what I can see, it's really small on the screen, but what I see here, I've got really great detail throughout. You know, for me, I feel like this line is a little bit too wide. I don't know that we need that much. I'm not sure. I think that this is in the image. I don't know about that one, but there's a couple dark spots. I don't know if they're supposed to be birds or what they are. And because it's so small in here, I can't tell. But if they're not, I would probably address those two little areas because there's so much beauty going on here. I love so much about it. Those are a little bit distracting. So that's so incredibly picky, but those two little spots I would remove because this is really, really beautiful, really well done. Again, love the composition, love the whole story we have going on here. Great, beautiful.
Bruce Yoder. In the spotlight.
Beautiful, great texture. Love the lighting, the water droplet position. All of it's great. Maybe might like to see a little bit more of the green foliage at the back where the stem of the tulip goes down, but gorgeous, gorgeous lighting, great use of texture. The contrast of the main light source, I think, on this used really brings out the detail and veining in every single part of not only the tulip flower part, but the green stem and the leaf as well. Probably just wish there was a little bit more in the bottom to give it a little bit more grounding. It almost feels like it kind of floats a little bit. And I can see a little bit of evidence of greenery in there. Would like to see a little bit more, and or crop it in real close and crop all of that out and just focus in giving a little bit of the green stem and the flower. Love the key line stroke around it to separate it a little bit in the presentation. And maybe, just maybe, crop a little bit off. Oh, because I can't see a lot of the detail in the bottom of this, I don't know what's there. It feels it's a little bit heavy on the bottom, but that may not be the case in the actual looking at it on a computer screen versus here.
It's better on the computer screen.
Yeah. So if there's a little bit more detail and stuff in there, then that's not a big deal. But phenomenal, beautiful, beautiful work.
New word.
Ann Fulcher.
Sorry.
It was Ann Fulcher. Making the turn.
I'm sorry, making the turn?
Yes.
Making the turn. And that's exactly what we're doing here. Yeah, I mean, there's really, really neat. I think that, you know, it's not easy to do. Overall, I appreciate the story that you've given. It feels oversaturated to me. I don't know that it is. I mean, everything could be, but the way that magenta pink and even the blues and the jeans and even in her cover on her helmet, they feel like it's been a little oversaturated. You know, we can't control any way that the horse is turning. So you captured it when you captured it. I would have liked to have maybe seen a couple frames before and after, because it could have been a little bit more energy in the horse and even in the rider. She looks, I mean, I appreciate the fact that she looks very determined. She's concentrating on what she's doing. I get that. But I think that there could have been a little bit better. And also, you know, it's sharp where I need it to be sharp. I don't have a lot of detail at all in the horse's tail, but it's moving. So I expect that. I know you've got some really great exposure because I've got great detail in the blanket under the saddle. So much good going on there. The saturation though jumps off the page for me. So if you did add some saturation, I would definitely back off that a little bit. The brown even in the horse goes a little bit too almost orange. So backing off a little bit might help.
Jay Denny. We still have 40 more. So yeah. Mingo Falls.
Beautiful capture. Increased detail in the shadows. So switch the contrast. It's a little too contrasty, little too oversaturated. Burn down the part in the bottom right corner, but open up the shadows on the left.
Philip Snyder. No chance.
Oh, great. I mean, we have nice image. I love the expression on the guy in the red. well, the expression on the guy and the white's well done too. I think the background's you've tried and you've handled it fairly well. I'm seeing where it's bleeding into the athlete's arms. So just watch those areas. It's bleeding into the whites here a lot. It bleeds into the skin tones here. So I understand what you're trying to do, bringing that down, but unfortunately in post, it just kind of fell a little bit short for me. Key line's a little too wide, and yeah, I would definitely address that. And, try it in black and white. Black and white can hide a lot of things, but watch that burning.
Ling Whitworth. Nothing to say.
Great composition. Probably would want that little fold in the fabric removed and bring out detail in the dark areas. Also, looks like there's been some sort of masking done because the part between her ponytail and her neck is a different density than that on the outside. So I think cleaning up and handling that a little bit better. I love the light on the mannequin in the background. Just, I think it's taken down a little bit too far. It looks too underexposed compared to the back of the suit of the other subject.
Linda Mickelson. Old Friends.
Another great example of a good title. Really, really fun. I can see these little bananas chit-chatting it up. I think that that's so clever. Love the storytelling. It's cropped really tight for me, which I guess is okay. But for me personally, it's just almost cropping in on the sides. I would have liked a little more room there. I'm not sure what's going on in the background, but it's got just some like weird striations in it, and that just might be how it is. I'm not sure if that's how it was photographed, but I would have liked to have seen that maybe cleaned up a little bit. And the bananas feel a little oversaturated. I'm not saying they are because I don't know. Obviously, they're pretty ripe, but really great title. Love the story.
Paul Bickford. Oranges and Blues.
Beautiful. Only thing I would do is tone down that bottom 25% to the left. Wouldn't change a thing else. Amazing.
Marta Namek. Osprey with Catch.
Great. Great capture. We have this, obviously it's an osprey. Thanks for that, because I obviously don't know my animals. Great capture. We got the catch. You got the story going on here. Overall, though, it feels like it's very underprinted, if this were a print. We've got some muddiness going all the way through the bird. I'm having a hard time even getting into the catch. I understand you're photographing up into this, but it just has a really heavy. So, maybe pumping up the contrast here a little bit, maybe pushing some highlights a little would help. But overall, again, just lack of detail in those shadows and just an overall muddiness to the dark areas.
Gary Gottlieb. Ouch.
Great capture. Would be amazing in black and white, but back off on the saturation. Also, there's something going on between the player on the far right. The grass goes really soft. So I don't know if that was a player removed or something removed in there. There's also some haloing around the inside of his legs. But back off on the saturation, maybe lighten the entire background just a smidge. I think probably if there's no other players, I'd back off on the crop a little bit too. And that I would totally play around with in black and white.
Bill Whitworth. Parallel Rhythm.
That's fantastic. Love the play on the artwork or the graffiti, the mural on the back with this, bystander standing there checking a map, checking whatever it is. Really, really great street photography, or it has that street photography type of feel. I wish that we weren't cutting off her feet. Either crop in more or give me more, because it just cropping in on those feet just amputates those toes, and that gives an uncomfortable feeling. Looks like there was some artwork or something done in post on the face. We have some really interesting, and it could be her makeup, but I don't think so. The way we have really weird highlights going on in her eyes and then around her nose. So I don't know if something was done there, but maybe be a little bit more careful with that. But I love the story. I love this street photography, and the graffiti in the back, and then her in the striped dress, paying no attention to that man at all. Perfect.
Linda Mickelson. Pastel Petals.
Oh, wow. Pretty. I love the play of contrast on this. It's soft. I think just increase the overall exposure just a little bit. Needs a little punch in the white with the white slider a little bit. Wow, I can't think of anything else to do except for this. Possibly the background's been taken down a little bit and edging. It's starting to look a little something around these petals here, just around the edges. They don't blend as easy as the other side does. Probably would subtract some of the cyan blue out of the background just from it being in the shadow, as that's a whole different white balance of that light source in the back, which would probably warm it up just a little bit. But I love the dappled light, really pretty.
Carol Hannes. Rapunzel Reimagined.
Great title. Probably would back off on the contrast. It was photographed in a contrasty situation, but great amount of light on the subject's face. If this were a non directed photograph by the photographer and it just happened, how cool that you got light to her face. If it is someone that the photographer had control over, would love to see a little bit more dynamic pose of her, maybe even turn her head into the light source, I think would be great. Also I'd bring out some more detail in those darker areas and probably try to make the background a little bit more even. We've got lighter here and it goes more saturated to the top. And I think by desaturating a little bit of this gradient to the bottom, I think would be better on this image.
Karen Davis. Red Riding Hood.
Oh, great. Beautiful lighting, soft, pretty, directional, totally mysterious in the eyes. Probably would tone down the hands a little bit. Because look, if you take that away, wow. So look for little teeny things that could jump around, especially when you're in a monochromatic environment like this. Love the dappling, again, light everywhere. Probably would tone this down a little bit since this is the brightest red. Tone that down a smidge. If it were me, I'd work up the brights in the eyes and the catchlights in the eyes a little bit. And if it's allowed, I would remove the hands totally from that image and make it all about the face and the red. I think would be phenomenal. I probably would not burn in the edges too much at the top too. It almost gives her a old-fashioned oval halo look.
Joe Ring. Red Tile Roof.
Great composition, amazing. Tone down the highlights a little bit. It's the only thing I would change.
Ike Spinos. Rhythm in Red.
Great capture. Probably would back off. This whole image was totally overexposed, and it's been brought down to the point where you're trying to fix her because she's way overexposed. You can tell the blooming on the arms, which shifts the color of her skin too. So she's in a much bright. I'm assuming she's in a much brighter spotlight on stage than everyone else. The contrast to the guy in the guitar from this viewpoint is kind of blending into the background. We don't really see separation of his body.
Pat Davis. Roses at the Farmer's Market.
Cute. Well, I mean, we have a nice little capture from a farmer's market. I think that this is kind of one of those images that it's like one of those casual captures. It's cute. I like the fact that we have this orange flower and then the pinker one behind it. For me though, there's a lack of color harmony. These colors don't go well for me. So I don't know what you could have done differently. Maybe make it monochromatic if you want to stick with this or pick different flowers, but also having all of these little pieces poking out, I don't think it adds to the image. And I think this would have really benefited from a little bit of cropping and presentation.
Cat Mintz. Rough Day.
Great study in texture. So this could be a couple images. I love. You could either crop all the houses out and make this an image, or you could crop here and make all of this an image. As it is right now, it's two different images, and this is so big it overpowers that. Back off on the contrast a little bit, especially in the houses, because we're starting to lose detail in the back areas and losing detail also in some of the white caps. But great stormy day or after stormy day.
Linda Schmiel. Sanctus Dominus.
Great. Beautiful basilica or church or whatever we have going on here. Great job. It's hard in these areas because you don't have any control over the lighting. You have so many different lighting sources coming in. We have this really, really cool light coming in through the stained glass, and then whatever is probably coming in from the windows up top. And I don't know if there's any other lights in there. I would have really, really enjoyed a little less saturation in this image. I would have loved to have an exposure that would have given me a little more detail in this. I know we have no control over all of this stuff, but this is just almost goes so muddy and dark. I would have loved an exposure that gave me a little bit of that. Maybe even, putting two images together would have been helpful. And a little more sharpness down in the bottom, I think would help this image.
Karen Davis.
Great capture and interaction between them. Love the expression on the secondary subject. Unfortunately, there's no light on them. The actual beautiful light in this image is on the background. So, and because of the focal length and the aperture used, it makes the subjects as sharp as the background, and would love to see a little bit more separation in between that. Also, looks like the saturation's been brought up a little bit. Notice you have two different white balances of light. You have the sun, which is a totally warm white balance, and then all the shade, which goes really blue and cool.
Kemp Davis. Santi Vincenzo e Anastasio Trevi.
Wow. You get kudos for even just saying that title. Really great little annex in a basilica or a church somewhere. I actually really appreciate this angle. I like the fact that they've given us this more modern image of what looks to me or appears to me to be Mother Teresa. And then we have some of the older images in the back, part of the prayer candles being lit. But again, we got this really cool light coming in where even like our the white cloth on the altar there is going very blue. So we need to watch that when we're photographing these areas. And I get it. There's not a lot of control, and you certainly aren't bringing in, or I would assume you're not bringing in lights to help. So just handling that in post, I think, would really help. But again, I like the angle you went in. I wish it was cropped a little bit differently, just because we're kind of lighting off here to the camera right. But really enjoy the top half of that image a lot.
Ted Jerkuda. Snoozing.
Great image. Probably back off on the saturation a little bit. Again, white balance. I would probably take out all the cyan blue in the sand from the shade and open up the shadows a little bit. Love to have seen a little bit more of their bodies off here to the right. And because of the direction of light, we're starting to lose a little bit on the edge light of the second seal, or I'm assuming second seal, second subject. It could be hard to take out, could be hard to manipulate, but starting to lose a little detail in that area.
Ike Spinos. Soft Spring.
Really pretty. Gosh, this is one of those images I'm going to really, really think about a lot. I really appreciate, I'm assuming this is a drone, and I apologize for assuming, but however this was captured, beautiful. I really appreciate the fact that we kind of go from the rows here of the foliage or the trees, and then we move into this gorgeous tapestry of earth. Do I wish we started more? I don't feel like we need that left-hand corner as much, and I understand why you had to put some of it in. I wish it was cropped a little bit tighter over there because I don't need all of that. The story for me is just this beautiful canvas. It's like a tapestry. It looks like a textile, doesn't it? The way this has been handled. I love the softness, the mood of it, the color harmony. The story for me is over the top. The center of interest is all there because the whole thing, and I think it's been presented really well. Beautiful image.
Susan Kennedy. Soft Island Sheep Shearer.
Great character study of this guy. Again, wish there were light to his face because his hands are the brightest part. And it looks like the sky's been brought down just a little teeny bit more. And this would be easier to fix in post because there's not that much of a difference in contrast between the highlights and shadows. And as a matter of fact, everything has a more diffused look. I love the accent light on his shoulder separating his sweater from the background. Wish his hands were toned down, wish his face was a little bit brighter, and wish the background area wasn't taken down so much it was lightened a little bit.
Kurt Sessler. Still point.
Really love, I like the shutter speed you chose here, assuming that's what it is. I like the fact that we have this rock right there, center bullseye composition right here in the lower thirds, going up into that sky, that fire sky. I believe all that's natural. If you've saturated that out, I'm buying into it. It gets really, really soft. I'm not sure if we need all of that. I don't know that all of this adds to it. Yeah, we've got a great story here and we've got a great story here. We've got a really, because this is so strong and it's so lacking in any detail and it's so incredibly soft, I wish that this was cropped a little bit differently for me, but I really appreciate this. The story for me is right here. And whereas I understand the sky's really pretty, I don't know that this, for me, if this was handled differently, I probably would have been even higher up, or I would have felt even more impact on that image.
Kurt Engelman. Sunday Jazz.
No, great. Tone down his jacket a little bit. Probably try a slightly different crop. I know it's kind of impossible to remove the person in the blue, whatever, on the bottom left. But would have loved that. Could even possibly crop this up a little bit more. Wish that either a slightly longer lens, because a longer lens would have thrown that subject out in the blue dress. And maybe even more of a wide open aperture so that the background goes more out of focus, because the tree really intersects the trumpet for me, and it keeps pulling my attention to the back.
Michael Bryant. Sunlit Haze.
This is a great example of, an artist's eye, right? This is something you saw, you captured it, and I think it's been captured beautifully. Everybody probably seen this and captured it maybe a little bit differently. I personally don't need all of this space, but I understand that negative space could have a really big part of the artist's story. So I can overlook that. It's got a very uncomfortable color, but it's an uncomfortable scene because I'm not sure what's going on. Is that mist? Is it smoke? Whatever it is. I think it's been handled beautifully. I love the fact that we have some some trees that are great and trees that aren't. So I'm assuming a lot of different things here. I can see the power lines. I wish I wasn't seeing the buildings and the power lines, because this void is what makes this story for me so incredibly, outer space or fairy tale or whatever is going on here, or nightmare for that matter. But a really cool play on the textures and the colors and just whatever's happening naturally or not in this area.
Venkat Santosh. Sunny Interlude.
Beautiful. If this were me, I would just simply crop out the sky. I think all your attention is a little bit below that white, whatever it is in the field. Crop just a little bit below that. Maybe burn that down just a smidge or contrast that little area down a smidge, but other than that, exceptional.
Susan Kennedy. Symmetry of a Nation.
Great. Really great study of, all the textures, all the lines. I think that, the maker's done a great job giving us this. I've never been to this place, but I've seen it and wow, this is really well done. And to get it, the time of day where we have nobody there. Great. I love the symmetry, the colors all there. It's kind of, you were given just a really great spot, structure to photograph. And I really appreciate that you're coming in and bringing us right in to it. I have nothing to add. Really well done.
Heidi Nunley. 10-minute scenic view cue.
What happens in every travel photograph. If it were me, I'd crop all those guys out of the umbrella and let the sky and the top.
10-minute cue.
I'd pay an extra $20. I'd pay an extra $20 and I'd accidentally drop something and I'll catch up with you.
Kurt Stiefvater.
It's a very funny image. It's very, very true.
The Ascent.
Great texture we have going up here to walking by, seeing this and the mist and then the tree that's fallen in between these buildings. this, like the moss and the wet steps here, like I would fall right down those. I can feel it right now. I wish it was cropped a little bit differently. For some reason, I don't want to see that where this, it looks like this stair is ending or with the next one starting, whatever. I don't like the white key line because I don't really have whites in here except for way in the back there in that misty, smoky area back there. So this key line I find a bit distracting, assuming that's been added. A little bit thinner, I think would even be stronger, like almost a vertical panorama on this could be kind of cool. But really great eye on the maker's part to see it and capture it and give it to us.
Patricia Munford, the green side of gold.
Oh, great image. Lighten the sunflower petals at the very top, darken the cloud a little bit, change nothing else.
Jane Webb, the Mullins sisters.
Again, we're photographing in this live music. It's so incredibly hard. I tend to, if I'm doing something like this, I'm going to always probably end up with it black and white. I understand that all the reds are really fun and all that things, but unfortunately it's the color balance or the lack of color balance that creates what feels like a technical issue in this. And it's just because of the lights and what you're kind of stuck with. But I love the point of capture. I like what's going on there. I could do with a little bit less. I don't need all of this bottom here. But maybe a little more room if we had more room. And I don't know what's going on the other sides. The crop it in some, and I would actually play around with that in black and white and see if you kind of took that distraction away.
Jerry Postno, the other side of the tracks.
Oh, cool. Probably darken the sky a little bit. Maybe take it out. I don't know. I kind of like it in there. If it were darkened just a little bit. And then I would also warm up the foreground because, again, the mismatch of white balance. This is also one of those images that can be divided in half. The top image is the top part is an image and the bottom part is an image too. But as is, I think I would just darken the sky and warm it up a little bit and that'd be it.
Jane Webb, Time and Timber.
Gosh, this is beautiful. This is just gorgeous. What a great study here again in texture and in all the zones. And I mean, we have so many beautiful levels here of grayscale, black, white. So well done. Great sharpness. Where you chose to capture this and we have this going that way and everything going different ways. I think the sky's actually been handled well. If anything was done, I'm not finding anything objectionable. I don't want to get too close because I don't want to see anything. I could probably do with a little bit less of the bottom maybe. But overall, this is a brilliant study for me in black and white and texture and composition.
Heidi Nunley, Touche.
Another great image would be benefit by black and white. Tone down the highlights a little teeny bit. Convert it to black and white. Tone down the USA flag in the back. And bring out a little bit more detail. Contrast or the background is kind of blending into the black face masks. So we need a little bit of separation to those areas.
Bill Whitworth, Urban Rays.
Great texture image. Probably would just crop a little bit to the left so that that little teeny triangle isn't in there. Probably would remove that one little wire that's coming down. Yeah, and I don't know that I'd change anything else.
Paul Bigford, View of the Bridge.
Really like the symmetry in this. I think that's been handled well. Overall, though, overall, there seems to be some issues. I don't know what's going on around the trees. I have that haloing going on here. I'm not seeing as much the other side. I feel like maybe the sky has been handled in post, and it feels like it's been taken down a little bit too much. This also has that crunchy feeling, whereas I don't know if the integrity of the file was such that it was pushed too far or if we've overdone it in post. I don't know because I wasn't there, but we have a really great story we've started with. I just think that there's been some errors in the technical handling it in post.
Tony Johnson, Waiting for the Bus.
Great. I think the whole overall image is a little underexposed. Probably would increase the exposure all over of the image and probably crop out most of the foreground, maybe into the orange cones. Would play around with this in black and white and also transform to correct the distortion.
Gary Kornfeld. Waiting to cross.
Cute. I like this. I like the simplicity of the image. I think there's a little dog in there. I can't see it right this second. Okay. Great. Okay. I really appreciate the way that it's black and white. The simplicity here, waiting to cross. I think the title says it all. We have a bike coming in, looks like. You know, I feel like there's just a little bit too much information here. I think some cropping would help here a little bit. Other than that, you know, what you've given me, a street photography with the right title and the right, whatever situation it's going to be handled in, I think it would be really great.
Gene Boyd. Walking above the clouds.
Beautiful. Wow. I mean, this is such a beautiful location that it's really kind of hard to judge because I think, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, oh, I wish I was there. I've never been here, so I really can't speak to what it's supposed to look like. Overall, it has an oversaturated feeling to it. I appreciate that we have the people walking above the clouds there on the ridge of this, you know, of the structure. I get that, but they're so small and this is so much going on. We have so much foreground here. Then we get here and then we have all the clouds and then we have this. There's just a lot going on. This is another great example of there's so many images in this image because I think there's like a guy there. There's just a lot. So for me, center of interest is important. And sometimes the entire image can be center of interest, but I'm really struggling where you want me to go. This is beautiful. This is cool. That's cool. Where do you want me to go? So sometimes maybe, you know, manually zooming in and picking things. For me, this could be 4 or 5 really cool images because there's so many great stories here, but I'm losing my center of interest.
Shannon Mitchell. Watch me.
Excellent tension. I think the point of capture here is really well handled. This is a great example of where I think the color works, which I'm not normally, as you guys can tell, a big fan because I'm like, oh, if I don't like it, make it black and white. But I think the color is working here. Also, I'm looking at it. I'm not seeing a lot of posts or if there whatever was done, I think it was done really well. So overall, as a reportage image, or, you know, I think this is great. Great point of capture, great tension, and the background's handled beautifully.
Ling Whitworth. Wilting.
Okay, so first would be, I think the focus is missed. The siding in the back is sharper than the actual flower itself. Contrast is a little bit of an issue. Not sure about white balance because I'm not sure what actually color that siding is, and probably composition too. In images like this, especially if the subject's really up close against the background, using lens compression, backing up and zooming way in, wide open apertures with prime lenses would be able to separate the subject a little bit, but also time of day too. Would love to have seen the weight to the light is a little bit more front facing on the flower, would have been probably a better choice.
Gary Kornfeld.
Yeah, so for the VPPA, we run it just like the PPA MIR, and we do sign that it is ours. We sign that we have the model releases if it applies, all of that. We do have special categories. So, for example, we do have a creative category that if you are adding in something that is not, you know, original to it, you have to do a thumbnail, and that's not allowed, obviously, in raw reportage or the wedding categories, but you can, but it's signified by thumbnails. Same thing with the artist category. If you're adding in art, you're painting, you're sketching, that's all added in with thumbnails. Same thing for VPPA. And then for the past 2 years, VPPA has a new category that's an AI fusion category, where as long as it's coming out of your own brain, putting it in, we are allowing that. You don't get credits or anything. There's one award for it, but we are kind of testing the waters on that just because so many people want to play around with it. And we've seen some really, really cool stuff, mostly from the younger members, which is cool. Yeah, they're very slight. So the image is there and it might be down the side or on the bottom, just little tiny thumbnails. And honestly, as a juror, if I see it, I look at it and I think, you know, is it making the image? Then I might judge it a little bit differently, meaning if that's what makes the image amazing, I'm probably not going to score it very high or give it one of those, you know, vote on one of those categories. But if it just added to it, and I thought, well, that was really smart of the maker to add that in, it actually does accentuate the image or make it better. sure, that's totally fine. Don't see it a lot because most of us are too vain and we want all of our own stuff in there. So you actually don't see it as much as you think you would. But yeah, but there is a way to do it, and it's just a good way to make sure that keep us all as honest as possible. But I will tell you that from a VPPA and PPA, and I've served on both of the boards, we're not the morality police. We just hope you tell the truth. We believe people are good, and hopefully they are. And trust me, if you're not and your friend finds out, they're the ones that'll turn you in, because that's what tends to happen. So, all right. You're welcome. Actually thought about that after I critiqued it, and I should have come back and said that, I think that is, I wish that, because of the fact that this isn't clearly light painting to me, and maybe I'm just not enough of a light painting expert, but maybe if that could have been included in the title, it might have helped a little bit. And I know that sounds silly, but as jurors, an image comes up and we have seconds to put it in a category or start evaluating it. And if it had said, light painting to dance or something, then I would have had light painting on the brain, and I may have had a different impression, at least with this part. But it's the subjects that I'm struggling with the most here, not the light painting. It was the lighting and the sharpness on the subjects, as well as the way the floor was handled. But yeah, I assumed it was subject movement, but I try not to do a lot of assumptions, because then people get mad at you and they're like, well, that's not what it was. And I try to be very general. And that's just kind of how I do it. But maybe it's kind of a